I think that's all I got in me, I said with an embarrassed laugh. It was a learning experience, but I have the feeling I wouldn't be able to replicate the feat again, especially not without Tomak's help. He did a good job. He picked up the axe out of the stump with a single hand, pulling it out effortlessly, bicep bulging. God damn. His hips moved, gesturing me aside as he placed another log onto the rather broad stump. Tomak mimicked the same posture he had me in, his feet spreading as the axe came down. His motions were fluid, practiced. The blade was a blur, whirling through the air so fast that I could barely keep track of it before it hilted itself into a slump once more. The hounds of the wood block shot from either side of the axe head, firing out into the snow before being scooped up by the big bear. He repeated the process several more times until he was loaded up. It was pretty impressive to see just how much those mammoth arms could handle the bear walking along with several wizards jammed under those limbs. Back in the cabin, he was already arranging the newest distance nets at the fireplace. The fire flared to life as he tossed one of the freshly cut logs in. I was a little worried that the dust and snow on it might douse the fire, but it seemed my fears were unfounded as the flames flickered but continued steadily. The warmth was nice, the fire burning hotter now that extra fuel had been added to it. Never had I been more thankful for the central heating I had back at home. It's the little things you take for granted. You never really appreciate them until they're gone, I guess. Thomas' attention changed from the fire, moving to the kitchen, his eyes locked on the pair of boxes I had left on the kitchen table. His large padded nose jumped, sniffing, picking up on a scent that was wafting through the air. Blueberry. The tone of his voice was eager, almost awe-filled. Large fingers worked around the edge of the box, pointed nails cutting through the tape that held the lid down before flipping open the top. This is Yuka had promised, a pristine-looking muffin set within a paper wrapping hugging it tight. It was bigger than my fist, perfectly puffed with hints of blueberry sticking out of the top. I almost regretted my choice for a cinnamon roll. It looked delicious. How did you know this is my favorite? His question broadsided me, leaving me scrambling to find an answer. The last thing I wanted to do was tell him that it was a suggestion from Yuka, not after I saw the wolf's reaction. Just a lucky guess. I laughed, rubbing the back of my head, fingers working up through my hair fur. I didn't want to double up on cinnamon rolls, so I figured I'd let you take your pick. He seemed to recompose himself, like that childlike sparkle in his eyes fading as he scooped the muffin out of the box. I will take the blueberry, if you do not mind. It was cute how he was trying to act stoic after his brief show of eagerness for the muffin. Sure, just kind of wish I had coffee to go with mine. His dense brow arched as he looked me over, halfway into bringing the muffin to his mouth for a bite. You did not have coffee? Well, I did. It's just that coffee and cinnamon rolls are a favorite of mine. I used to get them all the time when I was younger. I laughed, a smile creeping over my face. I thought about the nostalgic memories washing over me. Even in college, I'd buy those mini cinnamon rolls you can get at the grocery store. I picked out on them while drinking a few cups of coffee before my morning classes. That does not sound healthy. Lifting my shoulders in a slight shrug, my smile turned sheepish. Probably not, but it made my mornings bearable. And didn't have a lot of nice things going on for me. There were a lot of expectations that just being able to enjoy some quiet time in the morning was nice, before everything else would come crashing down. A wide laugh bubbled out of me, my short ears lowering as pleasant nostalgia evaporated away. Sorry for He took a bite out of his muffin. He seemed to savor the flavor, the bear's eyes closing for a moment, an almost imperceptible look of bliss washed over his face as he chewed. Too much information, probably. I shrugged my shoulders, looking over at my box as it tantalizingly sat there, beckoning me over to join Tarek in the pastry feast. I hesitated, biting my tongue. Tarek watched me curiously, the bear leaning against the side of the table. It's nothing. His gaze lingered, the bear looking like he was going to continue to pry. Ultimately, he relented, going back to his muffin, taking another bite from it. My mouth was a little dry, and the cinnamon roll, while good, wasn't nearly as tasty as it should have been. At least he was enjoying his muffin. It wasn't much, but at least I could give something back. Though I should probably avoid spending what little money I have left on snacks if I can avoid it. I wonder if I would even still have my job when I get back. My stomach sank. Part of me wondered if I would be able to get out of here at all. It was so far out of the way, and the only form of communication was going up to that mountain peak for cell service. A south side passed through my lips. I guess there was no other way out of here, and Tarek seemed reluctant based on our last conversation. Not that I could blame him. The snow and cold was already bad enough around the town, and his cabin, where would the top of one of those peaks be like? Still, I had to at least try. Hey, Tarek. The bear was looking into the wrapper, his tongue stretching out into it, slathering up the last of the crumbs. If I wasn't feeling so somber, I probably wouldn't have been able to stop myself from laughing at how silly he looked. We're still climbing the peaks, right? It took a moment for him to register what I was talking about, but when he did, a look of unease crossed over his features. He looked away from me, the crackling fire, the flames reflecting in his eyes as he seemed to get lost in thought. Tarek? He jumped slightly, pulling his gaze away from the flickering fire to look back at me. You still wish to go? It is dangerous. Well, there's no other way, right? He let out a displeased exhale, his eyes screwing shut, brows furrowing. Why is he so reluctant? I mean, I'm scared about going up there, but he's a certifiable outdoorsman, right? So what does he have to be afraid about? I cannot. The words seemed to catch in his throat, the bear's burly arms crossing over his chest as he steadied himself. I cannot guarantee your safety if we do this. I could feel a smile flutter in my chest, my cheeks warming. It was a simple statement, but it tickled me in a way I didn't expect. Well, I can't stay here forever. The statement seemed to weigh on Tarek, a small frown forming over his muzzle. This is true. He did say he would help me. I know it was a little bratty to hold him to his word, knowing how uncomfortable it made him, but I didn't really have much choice. Very well. He answered, dropping his arms limply to his sides. Do you have climbing experience? Do your 5 flights of stairs in the ITC building count? I couldn't help but laugh awkwardly at my own joke, especially when it fell flat for Tarek, the bear staring at me flatly. Sorry, don't joke, I don't. The best I've been on was a few hiking trips when I was a kid. Tarek rumbled thoughtfully, the bear brushing a thumb under his chin as he looked me over appraisingly. It felt real having his gaze bore into me like that, like I was a slab of meat or some art piece on display. The snow can be deep. The snow can become deep. I may need to kill you. Is this acceptable? I coughed under my breath, feeling my cheeks heat up. My thumb played with the cardboard box, my short nail catching and popping along the edge. It's fine, me. I don't mind. You're right. It will be easy. Well, at least it's an affirmation that I'm not tubby, so I'll take it. Though, even if I was fat, I doubt he'd have any trouble moving me around. I mean, those logs he dragged in must have been several times my weight. If we wish to climb the mountain, we must leave early. Okay. Do you wish to bathe? The question caught me off guard. Tarek pausing, looking over his shoulder at me, already to the door. We do not need to do it together if it makes you uncomfortable. Wow, this has been a change of pace. He didn't seem to care at all the other day when he dropped into the tub bare naked. Now he's worrying about modesty. I don't really mind. I guess I was just shocked the first time. There was a long pause as I bit at my lower lip. Tarek smile starting to fade as he looked me over curiously. Do you mind if I just take a shower this time? I'm kind of tired. Go ahead. I will get the generator started. I gave him a small wave as I watched him slip on his boots and head for the door. Sure, I wouldn't have minded taking another bath, but after the day's excitement, I just wanted to shower and get it over with. Going back to the sofa, I 1 minute into my suitcase, digging around inside. At least my stuff was still intact, a soft exhale of relief blowing between my lips as I found my laptop. Popping it open caused the screen to turn on, being greeted with the login splash. At least it didn't freeze out there. With how long it was exposed to the cold, or how soon the display could have shattered. And the force of the crash didn't take it out first. Putting it away, I dove in deeper, pulling out another set of clothes along with my bag of toiletries. A muffled rumble of an engine start up in the distance was my cue to slide into the bathroom. The lights flicked on easily enough as I gave the switch a nudge. My jacket was off, dropping my shirt as I shimmied out of my pants, tossing the majority of my clothes into a neat pile in the corner. The bandages came off easily enough as well, unraveling the fabric from my head. The quick look in the mirror showed my newest gash across my head, the stitching visible next to my hairline. At least I didn't look like a zombie anymore. Those bags under my eyes were a little less pronounced, looking a little bit more like my old self. And I guess I really do need coffee. Maybe next time we go out, Hallie could set me up with a coffee machine. I'm sure you could have some spare grounds you wouldn't mind parting with as well. I might need to get Philip's help to loosen him up. Strange those two. If I didn't know better, I bet the inside of my cheeks I considered the ever thought my brows furrowing. They can't really be involved, right? A rural town out in the Yukon mountains with two guys in a relationship, the odds were extremely slim, but the way that Wolf blushed when he was being addressed by Philip, the way he melted into a puppy was way too suspicious. The twisted sour handle found an ice-cold spray of water startled me. My arms went up as I nearly tripped on the tile floor, diving out of the way. Fuck. I shivered and shuddered, shaking the worst of the water out of my short fur. Oops, forgot to wait for the shower heater. I couldn't help but laugh a little at myself, imagining what Tarek would think if he would have seen me flailing around like a doofus. Oh, you're white. My primal shriek of surprise stunned Tarek, the bear nearly tripping himself, his colossal shoulder crashing into the doorframe in surprise. In my haste to get in the shower, I had completely forgotten to close the door. And Tarek, having no sense of boundaries when it came to modesty, didn't even bother to knock. I heard you scream, "Are you okay?" I let out a long exhale, letting my beating heart get under control before I answered. I'm fine, I just forgot that it takes a while for water to heat up, especially out here. He looked me over, gazing from head to toe. While he had seen me naked before, it was mostly in the water. This must have been the first time he's gotten a good look. Wait, why is he staring at me? Is he looking at the gas in my head or something else? I feel my cheeks starting to burn, my thick tail swinging around my thighs, trying to cover myself up for modesty. Can you, sorry. His cheeks tinted a light shade of pink, his eyes darting away. Dinner will be ready soon. His large paw reached behind his head, running it through his darker mane of fur. Fish soup again. Hope you do not mind. It wasn't the suit that bothered me, it was the fact that he was still standing in the doorway while I was naked. Yeah, it's good. I paused, hiking my tail a little further in. Apparently my body language was starting to become apparent because the bear's ears lifted, eyes widening in realization. You wish to have your privacy. Talk about awkward. He gave me a jerky wave goodbye before stepping out the room, closing the door shut behind him. You hear his stuttering footsteps fading as I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Jeez. The water was steaming now, plumes of it wafting out through the shower stall. Snatching up my bottles of soap, I stepped in eagerly. The warmth was nice, a far cry from the freezing spray it had initially hit me with. Gathering up with soap between my padded palms, I gave him a quick run over my body, working through my hair fur then down to my toes. Gingerly I washed around the cut of my forehead, tenderly working around the sutured wound. I gave extra attention to underside my tail. It hasn't exactly been pleasant on the excitement and jolt skills, having my scent glands operating on overdrive. At least I have my stuff now. Being able to wash with familiar scented soap was comforting, at least a small slice of home. Lavender. I took a breath, allowing the floral scent to fill my sinuses. It was a rush of nostalgia and something that helped ground me in this unfamiliar place. Closing my eyes, I leaned into the steam, allowing the pattering spray of water to become my world. The warmth of the steam wrapped around me like a comforting blanket, washing my worries away. I could feel the tension leaving my shoulders. I stood under the water, a soft groan slipping past my lips. All this need water is an immutable fact. I haven't been on a proper swim in a long time. I think I'm beginning to feel it. I sighed quietly, placing my back against the towel. It was still cool. A small shiver rubbed my spine as I adjusted. Shows like this were always a safe haven for me. I kept my eyes open, looking up at the hissing head, the steam swirling around, fogging the reflections in the stainless steel. A moment of peace in my life, one where I could be left alone. No expectations or commitments. No need to worry about what I did or didn't do wrong for the people in my life. I let out a long sigh, running my fingers over my face before pushing up through my hair fur. As much as I wanted to lounge in the warmth, it wasn't polite to stand around and use up all of Tarek's water. Reaching out, I gave the nozzle a few twists. The water shut off as they squeaked. The steaming stream relegated to a few drips. Thankfully, Tarek had always set out a towel for me, hanging from a nearby hook. I ran the white cloth around me, massaging through my hair first before wrapping it over my shoulders, working it forward and back. I couldn't help but stick at my reflection, even though it was fog. I could see the absolute mess my hair fur was in. Getting the worst of the water off of me, I managed to scoop up the nearby dryer from the ends at the countertop. From top to bottom, the warm air didn't feel too bad. It left me feeling a little puffy though, but it was nothing a quick brushing couldn't fix. So it wasn't the best job, but it wasn't like I was going anywhere. Luckily, there was some gauze set out for me, a clean roll sitting on the edge of the countertop. Using the mirror, I twisted a few wraps around my head, trying my best to set it properly into place. Now that the water was cut and the steam was beginning to thin, I could pick up on a distinctly fish-based smell wafting through the door. My stomach grumbled, seemingly aggravated by the scent as it shook angrily. I guess just a cinnamon roll isn't enough for dinner. I chuckled softly, slipping into my change of clothes I had brought along with me, simmering into jeans before slipping on my t-shirt. Just as I expected, Tarek was sitting on a knee next to the fireplace, his eyes fixed on the bubbling pot of stew. The bear was occasionally steering it, working a ladle around it in slow circles, turning the delicious vegetables and meat inside. He didn't seem to notice my presence until I was already sitting on the sofa nearby, watching what he was doing. "Oh, I got you a bowl." He gestured to the table in front of me. There were 2 bowls, complete with spoons. He even went out of his way to get a pair of water-filled glasses. "Thanks." The smell was even more delicious up close, my nose able to pick up on the medley of flavors that were carried in the air. "Hungry?" "Yeah, actually. The cinnamon roll was good, but not filling." He chuckled quietly. "It is not surprising. You need a hearty meal for dinner." "I suppose so. You probably need a lot of calories to keep that body of yours going." Just up and down at his generous proportions, he seemed to take it in good faith, the bear chuckling, a smile pulling across his muzzle. "It does. I'm not ashamed." "Why would you be? You look great." The word slipped out of me on reflex, my ears falling back as I let out an awkward laugh. "I mean, you're healthy, big, strong, and who cares if you're not cut to shreds? It's not like you need it out here. Besides, that extra bulk is probably helpful, insulation and stuff." I bent at my middle for extra emphasis. "The doctor says I should lose weight." "Oh." Hallie wishes me to come to her gym as well. "Oh dear." "Well, I think you look good. It's not like you're unhealthy." I know that my protesting is only digging me deeper, but I couldn't help myself. He's an attractive guy, and I wasn't about to let him think that his body was something he shouldn't be proud of. When you look at you, you're able to carry me around with just one arm. He seemed to consider my words, his jawline shifting thoughtfully. "And look at what you're able to do. You go out there all day and work right, cutting up wood, catching fish. The way you waded through that river like it was just a small stream was really impressive." I waved at the soup, gesturing. "So don't sweat it. An extra bowl of soup isn't going to kill you." I laughed, a small sound that bubbled out of me as well as my midsection. If anything, I should probably watch what I eat. I'm not nearly as active. He seemed fine to me. It probably won't stay that way forever. You need to eat if you are to survive. Physical beauty is not important. I mean, it might be a little bit. He was already moving to the bowls, scooping his up before pouring a generous helping into it and handing me the ladle. He hesitated, holding it by the middle, the rubber handle pointed my ways, eyes narrowing as he looked at me conspiratorially. "Not going to use it as a weapon again?" My expression blank as I stared at him. It took a second, but it clicked. "Seriously? You startled me. I had no idea where I was, and I was naked." I huffed, unable to keep the smile from my face. It must have been infectious, because he was already grinning wide to begin with, having obviously been joking. Damn, and here I thought he had his funny bone surgically removed. Taking the ladle, I dove it into the bubbly mixture, scooping some of the orange broth into my bowl. The first bite was just as good as it was yesterday, my tail thumping heavily against the seat as I dug in. Tom dropped in next to me, the seat groaning under his weight, the sofa simply tilting in his direction. Couldn't help but give him a few sidelong looks. He's so much more relaxed now. There's an ease about his movements he didn't have when we first met. But spending time together and throwing a few hugs was enough to get him loosened up. We both ate in comfortable silence, the crackling from the fire being the only other sound besides our mutual slurping. As expected, Tom went after another bowl, and then another, and I only filled mine up halfway before completely taking it, my stomach going taut inside me. Didn't get enough to eat, and let out a low sigh, leaning back to cradle my middle. "Yeah, I'd say so. Not watching your weight." I could hear the spark in his voice, my face heating up. "Shut up." I pushed on his shoulder, only succeeding in severing myself over from how immovable the polar bear was. He sighed, a deep rumble of a sound, those dense fangs showing as he grinned. Oh, so you can laugh, huh? Guess it just has to be at someone else's expense. It helps. We both snorted, expressing screwing up, laughing together, the sound filling the cabin. It was nice for a while. I forgot that I was even lost out in the woods. His smile was nice, and the sound of him laughing was something that made me grin like an idiot. He snuck a look at me, a bashful look creeping over his features, the bear becoming self-aware of his burst of emotion. I'm glad you were having a good time. The sofa creaked quietly as he visited, his heavy weight causing it to suddenly sit over the wooden floor. Yeah, I am. I gave my suitcase a sidelong look, a thought striking me. Well, now that I got my stuff, maybe we could watch a movie sometime? A movie? He tilted his head, big round ear flicking. You know, like, I know what one is. You're in Iska, not a remote island. Geez, who turned your sass on? I didn't even know you were capable. His cheeks warmed further, a smirk pulling across his muzzle, deigning not to answer as he leaned back into his chair. There are many things you do not know about me. I held softly, crossing my arms over my chest, shaking my head. I guess that's changing. He considered my question before nodding his head up and down. Anyway, I got a few movies I downloaded. My laptop doesn't look entirely trash, so it should be fine. What kind of movies? Well, I got a few superhero ones, a few old comedies, as well if you like those. I like comedy. Really? I wouldn't have guessed up until now. Well, there are a few good ones. They're a decade or two out of date, but I still think they're pretty funny. Perhaps we can watch them tomorrow. After the hike, and let out a long exhale, the sound bubbling up from him, his smile fading. Yes. His expression faltered as he looked back to me, a concerned frown replacing that warm smile. Are you sure you are prepared? This will not be easy. To be fair, the thought of scaling a snow-covered mountain was one of the last things I thought I would do in my life, but here we are. I have to. I started running a hand through my hair for brushes bandages wrapped around my forehead. I don't really want to, but it's the only way I'm able to let someone know I'm here. Maybe someone will come for me, or I don't know. My stomach began to sing as I thought about it. He will come all this way out here to save me. Even if they did, wouldn't they become just as stuck as I am? Misery loves company, but I wouldn't want to be the reason any of my friends get trapped here too. And the last thing I wanted was for my parents to know that I had even left campus. I'm just thankful that I'm a legal adult, or else the administration might let my impromptu sabbatical slip. Either way, I have to at least try to get a message out. He nodded slowly, seeming to relent in the wake of my determination, if reluctantly. The sofa gently squeaking quietly as he got to his feet. He slid a lid over the pot, dousing the fire, a plume of smoke and steam billowing up into the chimney. It is late. We should sleep. I couldn't argue with that. My eyes were struggling to stay open, a wave of exhaustion hitting me like a sack of bricks now that my belly was full. A small yawn caused me to open my mouth wide. Before I could even finish, I could feel a warm blanket being draped over me, the fabric loosely wrapping around, causing me to blink in surprise. Tarek had pulled the heavy blanket over the heavy fabric off of the back of the sofa, tucking it over me with surprising care. There was that same attentiveness he's been showing me, that break in his usual facade. Then again, there's been a lot of cracks today. Maybe what I'm seeing is the real Tarek, the one before he lived alone out here. Before I could think any further on the topic, the bear was already heading to his bedroom, turning out the lights as he went. Guess I can handle brushing my teeth in the morning. Another white yawn hit me with backwash from my own breath. Yeah. Okay, so no. I pushed a blanket off of myself, fumbling around from where I left my phone. A quick double tap on the side button gave me a pull of light to work with. Usually I managed to fumble my way back to the bathroom. Damn, the generator was off. Did he have some sort of timer on it? Note to self, don't take too long in the shower. At least it will work. The faucet turning on with a twist of the handle. Oh, my own toothbrush. My teeth felt absolutely awful at this point. I'm not even sure why I thought skipping brushing again was a good idea. Regardless, it felt good to get the crud off of my teeth. The taste of mint hit my tongue as I dove the paste slathered bristles in my mouth. It was nice, my mind spacing out as I gazed in the dark of the bathroom. The light from my phone was enough to get the job done at least. Sleep was sounding more tempting than ever at this point. Another yawn, forcing my jaws to unclench. At least the smell of mint was better than a mismatch of fish stew, coffee, and cinnamon rolls. Without the fire roaring in the hearth, the chill was quickly setting in. The floor was already chilly underneath my feet, hopping over the chilled wood until my toes were safely onto soft wood. The blanket was a refuge. Heat from the fire in my own body lingered inside as I snuggled tightly into it, curling up on myself as I snuggled in the dark of the room. Warm soup in my stomach, a comfy blanket, and a large sofa to sleep in. As nice as it was, considering my circumstances, I was starting to miss sleeping in a proper bed. Still, it was better than my Dawn's mattress. What the fuck? The world around me spun violently as I jumped on reflex. The blanket that was wrapped around me quickly turned into a trap as the fabric grabbed my legs, forcing my momentum to go over the edge of the sofa. An explosion of stars filled my vision as my head impacted the edge of the table. My forehead seared like I pressed it directly to the surface of the sun, waves of pain following. I probably hit my stitches, or at least that's the thought I would have had if it didn't feel like my head was tearing itself in half. Quiz. My eyes snapped open, everything a blur. The only thing in my vision was a blob of white as the distance twisted and turned. I heard a yell, "Are you right?" That infernal sound was still going, my phone rattling on the nearby table, the screen glowing as it continued to blare. It was the same dreaded sound I've had to put with nearly every day for the last 2 years, one that triggered a primal part in my brain whenever I heard it. It was almost enough to make me regret going back and fetching it from the wreck. My hand waved in its direction, frantically trying to stop the noise. Tarmac must have figured out what I was trying to do, the bear lowering me down, bringing me closer to the edge of the table. A few fumbles over the glass. Found the infernal noise finally cutting off. A sigh of relief passed over my lips. Even though my head still pulsed with pain, at least my ears weren't being assaulted. Let me see your head. With a grunt, I was lowered to the hard floor, terror curling around myself as I allowed the bear to manhandle me. He tilted my head left and right, those thick fingers wrapped around my chin as he examined my forehead. It must not have been as bad as it felt, his overt concern evaporating fairly quickly. Is this how you usually wake? I let out a soft huff, taking my wrist in my hand, pushing it gently away. No, I don't usually enjoy slamming my already broken head on the edge of a table. A soft groan passed over my lips as I sat up, pressing my back against the foot of the sofa. I forgot it was a weekend, so my alarm wasn't set. Ugh. A tender touch on my forehead found that it still hurt, probably going to have a bruise there later. At least I didn't pop my stitches. I'm not sure that Philip would be happy with having to sew me up again. I see. He paused, giving me one last look over before getting up from his knee. Do you want breakfast? We'll be hiking soon. You should eat. I guess that wasn't really much of a question as it was an insistent suggestion, his tone hinting as much. I'm sure. What do you... Pancakes. My brain stopped, thoughts crashing into each other like a multi-car pileup as they reached a standstill. I could always taste them on my tongue, the light and fluffy texture along with the straight tang of syrup. Wait. If we're in Canada, what does that mean? Maple syrup? His heavy brow arched up, the bear regarding me strangely as if being mystified over the state of sticky molasses wasn't something normal. Yes, I have some. Why? No reason. I laughed, trying to sound as convinced as possible. Thomas' gaze remained on me for several seconds, amber eyes shifting back and forth as if trying to decipher something or unravel a puzzle. He eventually gave up, shrugging his broad shoulders before turning to the kitchen, heavy footsteps separately shaking the floor as he went. Giving my phone one last death stare, I snatched it roughly off of the table, jamming it into my pocket. Thomas was already moving about the kitchen, his bulk bustling back and forth, the morning light sun through the window, illuminating his snow-white fur. It was kind of neat the way he had a darker coat around his head and shoulders, kind of like a mane. It was framed in the light, some dust particles filtering through the beams that peeked through the nearby glass. I like your hair fur, the words blurted out of me, as they were wont to do. He canted his hair over his shoulder to look at me, the bear working on preparing some batter in a bowl. What about it? I've never seen a polar bear with darker fur like that. It is hereditary. Apparently that was all he had to say on the top of Thomas, turning his attention back to what he was doing. It was dipped along the inside of the bowl, scraping rhythmically in a way that made my stomach gurgle in anticipation. The gooey mixture poured onto the cast iron skillet, sizzling as the golden batter spread into a perfect circle. I couldn't help but admire his skills in the kitchen, the bear moving his huge body with exacting precision. It was enough to make me a little jealous, considering how bad I am at cooking. The smell of pancakes quickly filled the kitchen, my padded nose jumping. The first flapjack slid on to a plate, followed by another, then another. Actually, there were a lot of them piling up. He snatched a separate plate, pushed the first away to make room. I would wonder how many of them were for me, but then I remembered the bear's monstrous appetite. God, I'm glad he doesn't live with me. I can't even begin to imagine what the grocery bill would look like. That thought left me with a sour feeling the more that I looked at him. What would things be like without him? I could feel my stomach starting to drop the more I dwelled onto it. What would things be like without him? I could feel my stomach starting to drop the more I dwelled on it. I've only known him for a few days, but he was starting to grow on me. If this trip worked out, if I managed to get in touch with someone, there's a good chance I might be out here soon. My chest squeezed as I thought about it. Tarmac would be alone again. Quiz. My gaze snapped up, having drifted in thought without realizing. A stack of pancakes hovered in front of me, balancing a bear's big hand, a small slice of butter crisping the top, the bottom of it already melted across the stack. Is something the matter? I shook my head quickly, taking the plate from its grip. It was heavier than I thought, dropping a few inches before I got it balanced out. Nothing, I was just thinking about. My mouth opened, yet I hesitated. Can you promise me something? Perhaps. What is it? It wasn't really my place to ask a guy I have only just met, but it was going to bother me unless I got it off of my chest. When I get out of here, he looked at me curiously, curiosity bleeding through his usual stone-faced expression. Can you promise that you won't stay out here by yourself? Surprised over took an inquisitive look, the bear seeming unsure what to say in response. Listen, I don't really know you, but it's good. Philip and Hallie, they seem to care about you. I can't make you do anything you don't want to, but you seem happy when you were around them, happier than when I first met you. I'm worried that after I'm gone, you'll be out here by yourself again. One the back of my head, putting the play aside. I know what it's like to be alone too, maybe not to the extent you're going through, but it still sucks. You're a really good guy, and I think you deserve to be happy. The most surprised he started to smile. His gaze drifted. Was he starting to blush? The insides of his ears glowed a faint hint of pink as he averted his eyes. It has been. He rolled the words around in his head, pausing. Nice having someone to talk to. You have been kind. I mean, you're the one that's been taking care of me and feeding me. I say you've been more kind. I said with a short laugh, rubbing the back of my neck awkwardly. His large hand wrapped around my shoulder, much to my surprise. His thumb slid along where it met my neck. It was an affectionate gesture, one that I found myself leaning into, my face starting to heat up just as much. I will miss you. Those words struck a chord, my chest tightening again. That hand turned me, pushing me gently towards a nearby chair before setting me down in it. But these are thoughts for later. Eat now. The clinking of glass had my ears shooting up. The bear walked to a nearby cabinet, popping it open, revealing several jugs of honey, brown-colored liquid. As much as I wanted to stay on top of the promise of maple syrup, was too much to ignore. The jug dropped onto the table. I saw the contents inside sloshing simply back and forth. How many bottles do you even have? It looks like your whole cabinet is full of it. Enough for my needs. You can take one home with you, consider it a gift. I'm not entirely sure I have enough room in my suitcase. Honestly, it was tempting to leave a few outfits behind if it meant taking one of them home. The jug glistened in the light, reflecting in the glass, making a small rainbow arch across the table. Reaching out and pulling the cork with a squeak out of the neck, I had an important decision to make. Much as I love the stuff, maybe it would be better to be conservative with how much I use. The jug was heavier than I thought, nearly tumbling me into the tables. I tried lifting it with one arm. Tarmac smirked at me from the other end of the kitchen as he finished making his own pancakes. Of course, he made it look easy. He's got the strength of an entire football team rolled into one bear. Turns out that lifting it up was the easy part. Turning it over and keeping the contents from flooding the table was a true challenge. My arms wobbled as I gripped the bottom. My other hand wrapped around the neck as I leaned over the table. Need help? No, I got it. Just gotta be careful. The first golden dollop caressed the topmost flapjack, spreading out from the pouring contact. I could already pick up the delicious scent, my nose twitching. Tipping the jar back, I stopped just short of completely smothering them. Even though I didn't want to go overboard, I couldn't help but put on a healthy helping. Sitting on the stove, Tarmac headed over to the table plate. Single-handed, he gripped the neck of the bottle, twisting it over without issue to give himself a similarly generous serving. I'm surprised he didn't use more. I laughed, the sound muffled as I stuffed a forkful of pancake into my mouth. I didn't want to waste it. There's plenty in the cabinet. It is no waste. It was fluffy. The pancake perfectly cooked, golden with the edges a little darker than the rest. Enjoy yourself. Yeah, they're really good. Where did you get the syrup anyway, Hallie? He grunted, nodding, his mouth full. It seemed he was just as hungry for breakfast as he was dinner. showering down with bites that would have otherwise made me choke. She has a large stock. Sometimes she gives them when I sell my cats. She's pretty nice, I think. I mean, she's pretty high energy. Tarrant snorted, stopping what he was doing to smirk. That's one way of putting it. She's like your polar opposite. It took a second, but his expression made me realize the unintended pun I had let slip. All seemed to be forgiven, though, Tarrant looking amused with how far I sank into my chair. How do I keep sticking my own foot in my mouth like this? And this way, I'm going to have to go back to the doctors to have it surgically removed. Yes, he is energetic. He takes another bite, chewing over it thoughtfully. She takes joy in bothering others. The word bothering came out a little more intense than the others, the bear squirting tightly. Not a fan. I try to avoid her when I can. She doesn't seem bad, though. I scratched at my chin, putting down my fork. He just likes you. His brow arched. The bear stared at me critically. Why? Easy to tease? This makes no sense. Why would she tease if she wants to make friends? I thought over the question. Sure, it didn't really make sense on the surface, but some people tease people they like. It's just how they operate. I know that's how my boyfriend. I saw immediately, my jaw snapping shut, threatening to cleave the end of my tongue off. Tarrant regarded me with interest, even a little surprised. Part of me was a little terrified letting my sexuality accidentally slip so far out in rural nowhere. Luckily, he didn't seem too hung up on the matter, his expression remaining dutifully neutral. Teasing is a way of showing affection. You tease me enough, right? It seemed to take a second for the conversation to reset, the bear shaking his head subtly, as if to clear his thoughts. I suppose. It is easy. You do have a point. She has been nice. Hyperactive, but nice. Strong too. I don't think I've seen a girl that big before. Then again, the biggest guy I've ever seen was just sitting across the table from me. I guess they grow them larger up north. Even Philip was a fair bit more muscle than I was used to, though it wasn't entirely surprising considering his health-based profession. She has her own gym equipment. Huh? Guess that's why she's so buff. Do you have any of your own? No. My work keeps me active. And all that food keeps your belly round too. Yeah. Like I was one to talk, considering I had managed to consume the entire plate of pancakes in front of me. Tarrant stood, the chair squeaking as his heavy weight lifted. I will prepare for our journey. Is it going to be a long one, or difficult? His gaze drifted to the nearby window, eyeing a set of snow-frosted peaks beyond. It's a 7-hour climb. My jaw unhinged. Is it 7? I've never been out for a walk that long, let alone a full-scale mountain hike. Can we take the snowmobile or something? There's got to be a faster. Only to the base. We must climb the rest. He eyed me up and down. The intensity of his gaze caused me to swing back into my chair. You are not physically fit. Ouch. A fair assessment, but the way he bluntly put it dented my ego. We will take plenty of breaks. I will bring camping equipment. Why? It will be dark before we reach the foot of the mountain. It will be dangerous to descend. He smiled, but forced. That same troubled doubt still pulling at the edges. Do not worry, I have experience climbing. You will be safe. I will also carry you if you need. I could feel my face warming up at the thought of being carried in those large arms, like some sort of princess being escorted by her vassal. I think I can manage. I stuck out one of my legs from the seat, giving it a few bounces. Besides, I'm not a complete couch potato. I used to swim a lot after class. He nodded with a grunt, the door popping open, the chill air that blew in made me shiver, a small smattering of snow buzzing over the threshold. Pack light, do not forget to bring anything important. I could hear the sound of snow crunching, his broad back vanishing from the windows. Guess I better get to work with cleanup. It's only fair if he cooks that I should clean. Gathering up the dishes, I quickly trotted to the sink. Luckily, it didn't require power so far as I could tell, the water turning on with a twist of the faucet. Unlike the usual sticky corn syrup, maple syrup was much easier to get off of the plate. No excessive elbow grease required. The stuff sliding right off, spiraling away into the gurgling drain. A couple swishes of a soap-smothered brush, and dishes were spotless. Spotting a nearby drying rack, I opted to toss them in there for the time being. Trotting back to my stuff, I flipped my suitcase back open, thumbing at my chin as I thought over my options. Stuff to take, huh? I have to rely on Tarek for the majority of that. It's not like I've got rasters or climbing equipment buried in here. The only food I brought with me were those empty wrappers back in my car. Those weren't going to help anyone. Extra set of clothes. Wait, why did I? A pair of flip-flops dangled between my pinch fingers. They looked just as old as my sneakers, the blue rubber visibly faded in sections. Well, it's been a really long time since I've had last cleaned this thing out. I wonder if it's still there. My eyes flit about conspiratorially as I pulled my hair, peering past the edge of the sofa to see if a tarmac was around. Seeing it as the coast was clear, I dove back in, fumbling with the zipper, pulling it open. Inside was more than a few celestial objects that seemingly didn't belong amongst the piles of milquetoast garments. A pink dildo, a few condoms in various sizes, and an enema kit. Couldn't help but feel a little gross knowing that this was going along with me to my sisters, but hey, I was having a really bad time, so if I forgot about some stuff, my cheeks warmed, biting at my lower lip as I gazed on a forbidden pile of brightly colored plastics. I lifted the dildo in particular, the rubbery flask flopping simply to the side, a thin layer of dust sticking to the material. There was even a scuff near the suitcase, a product of trying to hide it too fast one too many times. This stuff constituted a lot of my first memories when it came to sex, the messy trial and error of two kids just trying to figure out how things worked. Both had to stumble through learning pains. Thankfully, there was a condom involved when I was split in half for the first time, without lube. I'm just glad we had the internet for pointers, otherwise it could have been a lot more messy. I pushed the phallic object back, stuffing it into the pocket before quickly zipping it shut. Shaking my head, I went back to the task at hand, gathering up another shirt and jeans along with a pair of socks. I probably want the latter for sure, and all that snow can get in your shoes. I remember more than a few wet socks in winter when I was young. I could faintly hear the sound of the door opening back up. Peeking over the edge of the sofa, I spotted Thomas' boat stomping back in. The bear flashed me a faint smile and a wave of one of those large paws as he approached. Do we have everything? We're going it. What else should I bring with me? I've got an extra set of clothes, but do not worry. I have everything for survival. He gestured to the massive hiker's pack that was grappled to his broad back. It was almost as big as me, where it looked like a pop-up tent bundle at the top along with a sleeping bag. Glasses are difficult in the rounds. I hope you do not mind jerky. Jerky's fine, don't mind. The big bear gave a quick nod. We should go. The sooner the better. Luckily, Tarmac provided me with a bag. It was a simple canvas sack, but it was enough to handle the small amount of stuff I was taking with me. The snow outside crunched under my boots, and once again I was thankful for the new set of footwear. Toasty toes means toes I get to keep at the very least. Thankfully, it wasn't as bad out now. The last few days had been awful. Snow crashing down in seats. It was so bad that even the ever diligent Tomrat didn't bother to go out and shovel. As much as I wanted to leave, even I knew it would have been stupid to waltz out in an active blizzard. Turk was already ahead, his snowmobile rumbling quietly and waiting. Looks like his pack was strapped to the back. I have to sit in front of his lap once again if I'm going to fail. Just as I figured, the bear waved towards the front, scooting his large body, making the frame snowmobile squeak and wobble separately as he moved. Adding my back to his, I shimmied up into his lap. Just like last time, his rounded middle pressed against my back, pushing me tight into the handlebars. But I didn't have to worry about flying out of my seat, trying to ignore all that bogey heft leaning against me was another issue. Right way to go. This would be a difficult climb. If you wish to stay here, I will understand. I can go on my own. It would be safer for you. He did raise a good point. This was entirely out of my league. We'll probably end up weighing him down more than helping. But can we make him go alone? Even though he's a competent woodsman, it could still be dangerous. It'd probably be better if he stayed, but yeah, I'm just gonna have him accompany Tarlac. I think in the end of the video I'll talk about my thoughts on them going up this journey. So now I'm just gonna say, let's go with him. Of course I should go along with him. He's already done so much for me. It would be selfish to stay safe in his cabin while I wait for him to come back. After all, what if something happens up there and I'm not around to help? I'm not sure I could live with the guilt. What if he doesn't know how to use my phone? Remember how damaged it is? I might even have trouble getting it to work. Have you ever used a phone before? Yes. Wait, he has? I think I might need to be worried about a question because I'm having a hard time believing it. Okay, how about a cell phone? Have you used one? There's a difference. He tilted his head, looking at me in confusion while his dense brows rising. Oh dear. I'm now about to teach a crash course to a polar bear who could shatter the screen with an errant press of his index finger. Well, shatter it more. It's probably best if I just come with you. I'm not sure if you'll be able to use my phone, let alone check for signal or know how to call or text. Like you said, if worse comes to worse, you could carry me, right? It will not be difficult. You're light. I'll try not to take that as an insult, but thanks. The engine revved, both of us already pulling out Thomas' cabin, swinging in the distance behind us. Are you comfortable? It's a little tight, but that's okay. That's fine. Kinda like last time, right? Yes, with my pack, there's little room behind me. He gave me a sympathetic smile, the bear leaning back to keep from looming over me. The right to side there. It's a short one. You'll be fine. Sir, what now? The highest peak in the area. There are a few that are taller, but I do not wish to go further. Why not? Unfamiliar territory. I'm not sure of the lay of the land. And the doctor's correct, this peak should be sufficient. Ginger revved again as he twisted his padded hands over the handle, gunning it as we zipped down a particularly open patch. Snow-crushed branches passed by, whipping through the air as we passed. The snow fell from the trees, sunlight glittering through sparkling frost, creating a surreal atmosphere as we cruised. Again, I found myself marveling with the captivating beauty of this place. If it wasn't trying to constantly kill me, it probably wouldn't be a bad place to visit. Plus, the big belly pressing against me was nice. I never really been this close in contact with someone with Thomas' proportions. Sure, I've been around fitness-focused hunks, but this is the first time I've seen a guy with a belly and a set of biceps. It was kind of captivating, like a combination of desserts you didn't know would go together. The path was the same one that took us to my car. Squinting hard enough, I could spot a glimmer of dark azure in the distance between the trees. But just as quickly as it appeared, it vanished. One of Thomas' arms wrapped around me, fingers unfurling from the handle to tug me gently back against his chest. It was an intimate gesture, one that made my face flush, tail looping around his thigh. This was starting to go beyond just someone being friendly. Was the bear starting to catch feelings for me? Is he even gay? He didn't blink when I let my sexuality slip, a little flustered, but maybe it's just that he finds me cute, kind of like when someone sees a defenseless, fluffy rabbit. He wouldn't be the first person to give me special attention just because I was a little odder. The front skis slammed into heavier snow, sucking me out of my thoughts and nearly out of my seat. If it wasn't for the large arm around me, I probably would have been launched into the prickly branches above. I coughed awkwardly, feeling the insides of my ears heating up from embarrassment. Guess I was jumping the gun a little. Oh, you're right. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for the assist. The journey ahead will be rough. The terrain's untraveled. Oh, now a popular tour. Almost as if, except for feeling prophecy, the snowmobile jerked hard, twisting right, skidding through the churning snow. The momentum had me slamming into the crook of Thomas' arm. All the blood rustled to my side as we whipped around a downed tree. It took a few moments before I was able to peel myself off of the bear's bicep, wobbling a little in my seat as I sat up a little straighter. He chuckled softly, gently removing my hair while keeping an eye on the path ahead. And bear in mind, there is no interest. The path have long since deteriorated. I guess what the doctor was saying was true after all. Frozen peace and rusted over mines. All the more reason to get to the top and try to get a signal. We rolled in silence for a long time. Tom mainly focused on making sure we didn't run over anything larger than a few hills of snow. The trees started to clear, parting to reveal the looming mountain ahead. Approaching the base of rocky cliff, Tom pulled up alongside a fallen tree before cutting the engine. Hopping off of the side of the snowmobile, I was greeted with a larger-than-life vista. Oh, wow. This was a week of firsts, apparently. I'd never been at the foot of a mountain like this before. A judging peak pierced the heavens, heavily gathered clouds filling the sky, obscuring the snow-dusted top. I couldn't help but go, clutching the front of my shirt. Nothing like a massive force of nature to remind you just how small you really are. It looked like it was going to be a hike just to be able to get to the foot of the mountain, and that was before all the vertical climbing. The squeak from the snowmobile's socks caught my attention, Tom getting off before gathering his pack, tossing it over his shoulders. It seemed he was distracted by the same sight, those amber eyes of his fixed on the looming peak ahead. I couldn't tell what he was thinking, but there was an air of discomfort around the bear at his standstill. He seemed to notice me staring, his gaze turning over his shoulder. Apologies. It's been a long time since I've been here. I trudged through the snow, the stuff crunching under my boots as I stood beside him. It was almost tempting to take his hand in mine, if only to show moral support. Want to talk about it? He seemed to seriously contemplate the offer, his jawline shifting, still staring me down. But the moment passed, his eyes closing before shaking his head. It is best if we keep moving. Gripping the straps of his pack, the bear strode forward, plowing through snow as if it didn't exist. Thankfully, he left a wake behind him, stepping into his larger footprints as I kept up with his longer strides. My legs. I groaned, my thighs burning with every step. Luckily, the ground was more rock than ice, otherwise I'd probably slip and fall onto my face. Are they going to fall off? How long have we been at it? The sun felt like it was moving across the sky faster than us on this mountain. Water. I blinked, hearing the offer just as Thomas stopped near a set of trees. The big bear dropped onto a nearby jutting boulder, pulling his pack from his back. You need to stay hydrated. Isn't that usually during summer heat and stuff? You're still exerting yourself. Water is important here. He pulled a bottle out of his pack, taking it in my direction. Drink. Not wanting to argue, I took the bottle from him, popping the cap before guzzling down a mouthful. It wasn't until the chilled water rushed down my throat that I realized how much I had needed it. Phew. He chuckled softly, a knowing smirk passed over his lips. He dug into his pack a little further, that arm bulging under his jacket he fist inside. You're doing well so far. I'm surprised I did not have to carry you. You're stronger than you give yourself credit for. He handed me one of those jerky strips he was talking about. It had a savory aroma that wafted from it, one that refused to be blown away by the wind. Here, you should eat as well. Tarek was already chopping on some of his own, turning the end off as easily as someone ripping a piece of paper. Turns out it wasn't so easy for me. Biting down proved that the meat was tough. A few tugs required to actually tear some of it from the stick. It was delicious. It was marinated in. Actually, I wasn't sure what. Barbecue? Worcestershire? Either way, every bite tickled my tongue in just the right way. Did you make this yourself? I asked, my mouth still a little full, my words muffled. No. Now that I was surprised, I figured he would have made or cut all of his food. He must have picked up on the look I was giving him. It is so, but the trade shop owner. Hallie? Yes, there are other hunters in this good. We supply her. She's jack of all trades, huh? I chew on another bite, gulping it down easier now that I've figured out how to tear it into it properly. Do you hunt as well? I've only seen you fish. Do you hunt as well? I've only ever seen you fish. He nodded. That's correct. I prefer the fish. Any particular reason? He exhaled through his padded nostrils as if this was a topic he was tired of, something discussed several times in the past before me. I did not like taking life. I did not want to track and hunt down other animals when I can subsist off of salmon. That's pretty noble of you. I take only what I need. To do otherwise would be foolish and wasteful. I propped myself up next to him, taking the lip of the boulder he was sitting on. He was pretty warm, like a personal heater. There wasn't much of a breeze, thankfully allowing the majority of that warmth to stay in place. We're pretty high up now, aren't we? I squinted my eyes, peering past the pines. I couldn't make out the shapes of buildings clumped together off in the far distance, barely thanks to the low-hanging clouds. Guess that's Escud. We are nearing the top. A few more hours until the summit. Have you tried checking your device? He had a point. All the more reason not to climb to the top if we didn't have to. Digging into my pocket, I pulled out my phone, giving the power button a quick flick. The screen turned on, a crack running along the side, bleeding colors across the surrounding pixels like this is a what? Nope, no such luck. There was only the Barrett's tracer signal, a single bar that flickered in and out, not even enough to check for text messages. But at least we're on the right track. We're getting closer. I'm starting to get a connection, so maybe we don't have to go much further. The bear nodded, getting up to his feet before zipping up his pack and tossing it onto his back. Let's continue then. Finishing off the last of my jerky, I got to my feet, hefting my own bag up with a grin. All right, ready? Need me to carry you? There was a smug smile pulling across his muzzle. One of his brows caught as he looked over me. I could tell he was messing with me just by his tone of voice alone. I made it this far. I think I've got a few more hours in me. I responded with a smirk of my own, giving his side a bump with a shoulder as I passed him by. It was getting cold. The higher we climbed, the more frigid the air became. It was almost painful to breathe breaths coming out in frosted puffs in front of my face. The ground below was obscured by nebulous clouds, wind starting to whip around us, tickling like frosted coat knives. It was starting to dawn on me just how far from home I am. Wow, not even it wasn't for the frigid air. My breath would have been taken away from just how high we were. Peak after peak stretched off into the distance, the sun hanging in the sky far above us. It was almost blindingly white, having to put my hand over my eyes to be able to see out of the distance. The clouds of natural snow covering the jutting sister spires caught the light as well, giving the world around me a harsh glare. Even though my legs wanted to give out under me, it felt like I was on top of the world. The air felt thinner, and it was a little harder to breathe, though I chalked part of that up to the chill and the exhaustion. The atmosphere was surreal. It was like a sea of clouds, with the tips of the mountains being the only island stretching out as far as I could see. "Are you alright? We were almost to the top." Even Tarek had to raise his voice to be heard over the sound of the wind as it blew around us. "Yeah, I'm good. I just need a breather." I turned my gaze back to the edge of the peak, spotting the swaying pine trees over the edge. A sense of vertigo gripped me, my apples getting stuck as I tried to go. We should not linger. The clouds would not look friendly. Tarek looked uneasy, as I could see why. And I could see why. The sea of clouds around us was starting to turn, winds picking up as the lighter hues began to darken. I could feel my pocket vibrate, distinct chime following that took my eyes off the glowing turbulence. I was sent. With a tug, I managed to pull my phone out of my pocket, perhaps a little too hard. The glass brick nearly going flying caught the ends of my pad fingers before it could get too far away. With a breath of relief, I flipped my attention back to the screen and turned it on. Another text message. I know it was a city boyfriend. Oh no. I could feel my chest tightening as a swirling circle of dots formed on the text message pane. I was so fucking stupid, and now you're gone. Chris, I said I've listened to you. You're more important than the shit I'm trying to hide. Tony had stopped to turn around and look at me. Confusion spread across his face at my hesitation. My phone vibrated, showing off several missed phone calls. The ticker seemed to increase with every passing second. It wasn't just him either. It was my parents and my sister. I could feel myself shutting down, my brain grinding to a halt as the world around me slowed to molasses. Even when the phone buzzed again, I barely paid it any mind, my eyes drifting slowly downward back to the ominously glowing screen. Dude, I'm sorry. Everyone I talked to at campus said you got up and left. Nobody knows where you are. I'm really fucking worried. The winds were picking up. I was barely able to feel it. The sensations felt far away. Chris, we need to move. Even though it felt like I was miles away, I could still hear the panic in his voice, a primal sense of fear. Even your roommate isn't telling me where you went. The winds howled, whipping, churning snow, throwing it between us like a barrier. Can you call me back, please? The whipping winds blew harder. Another bank of snow being blasted into the air, creating a swirling torrent around me. I needed to try. I just needed to move my thumbs onto the keypad. It doesn't matter if it's a message to him, anyone, Someone needs to know that I'm out here and that I need help. Removing my gloves was difficult. My fingers already going numb from the cold. Car broke down. I'm in a town called Esker in Yukon. The winds roared around me. The hot buffet nearly taking me off of my feet, causing me to stumble and nearly drop my phone. Fuck, not yet. The three dots continued to spin, showing my messages as being sent. The three dots continued to spin, showing my messages being unsent. Come on, upload. This is bad. If I can just barely download, then what chance is there that my message is getting out? I need help. I bent lower left, ignoring Tom calling out my name over the wailing winds. The bear sitting slightly downhill, frantically waving for me to follow him to safety. Just like the first, the second text was just spinning and spinning, round and round. My heart sank, stomach plummeting as I stared at the screen. There were even more messages that were popping in, my phone buzzing in my hand. All I needed to see was an angry preview for one of my mother's messages to make me want to puke. And as a proof of the futility of it all, my messages failed to send. A pair of red X's over the end of each, and accompanied "We Try" option underneath. I pressed the button, but all I was greeted with was another set of swirling dots. Chris! What? And then I saw what Tomac was trying to warn me of. A gust of wind hit me so hard that it whipped me off the side of the mountain, my feet leaving the ground. Like a sail, my jacket was caught in the wind, my center of gravity being drawn along with it. Tomac yelled my name, his eyes wide, hand desperately reaching out for me. But it was too late. He knew it too. The phone in my hand slipped from my grip, the device spinning, showing me one last glimpse of my home screen. A smiling lion and an otter leaning together, fresh out of high school. A picture of simpler times. Maybe things could have stayed that way if I wasn't so stupid. There was no more ground beneath my feet. Tomac's hand pulled further away, even though he was still trying to race for me. The rock face of the mountain whizzed past me as wind and torrential snow whipped. I was falling. So, this trip that they took up the mountain, it wasn't necessary. It was Chris's suggestion to go up this mountain so he can get service on his phone and contact his parents and friends. I understand that he wants people to know that he's alright, but this idea of his wasn't worth it. It totally wasn't. I mean, going up a mountain to the peak. I mean, he would have gotten frostbite. Well, I think he almost got frostbite, but still, he could have gotten frostbite. And plus, there were gusty winds and all that. That was what really put him in danger and made him fall off the mountain. The gusty winds pushing him off the edge and falling. And again, and while Tomac gave him the warnings and dangers of going up the mountain, he decided to climb it anyway. I mean, it just wasn't worth it. I mean, it just wasn't worth going up a mountain, putting yourself and Tomac in danger just so you can have cell service and contact people. I mean, you're going to contact people eventually. I mean, yes, you're stuck in this little town, but the fact is, you're going to get contact. You're going to get cell service immediately. You're going to be reunited with your parents and friends sooner or later. I mean, it's not like going up a mountain's the only way you could contact people, but it certainly wasn't worth it. I think he still just focused on, I think he still just focused on staying with Tomwack. He still just focused on staying with Tomwack and figure out other ways of contacting his parents. But climbing up a mountain, the very moment he suggested this plan, that's when I thought that this was real stupid. I mean, it's just real stupid, just to think that you want to contact people so badly that you will put your life at risk. I mean, if I was in his situation, I would want to contact my family and friends too, but I wouldn't go as far as climbing up a mountain, putting myself and Tarek's life in danger. I would figure out other ways. Plus, it will focus more on being with Tarek and just continuing to stay with Tarek while I figure out other safer ways of getting contact. But climbing up this mountain wasn't worth it. And just to spoil what's about to happen, he ends up surviving the mountain fall. But he could have gotten himself killed just now. So this just isn't worth it. It wasn't worth the risk at all. He should have just figured out another way getting cell service. So I like Tomac even more in this update now. I mean, watching the first few videos, you might have thought of him as this quite stoic person, and while he generally is that way, a quite stoic person, he also cracks jokes, and he can act all smug and confident too. So while he is generally quiet and stern, he certainly has other emotions also. There's certainly more variety. I mean, he certainly has shown more variety to him in this video than in the past few videos. And that's the wonders of being with somebody and getting to know them. Under that exterior, that quiet stern exterior, in the interior there's the more fun part of him, the more emotional parts of him that you don't get to see in the exterior, from what you look at him. So in the next video we'll see what happens to Quest, but he does survive. So basically what's going to happen, we're going to see what's going to happen with him and whether Tomac can get to him. So all the information for the game is in the description box below. Thank you all very much for watching. Goodbye.